What happens when an obsession becomes more important than your family? How far would you go if your family kept you from the things you seemingly loved? It's the case of Grant Amato, right now, on Love and Murder. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, the weekly true crime podcast discussing relationships gone terribly wrong, where our motto is...
You're either someone's last love or their first murder.
I know y'all are surprised to hear that voice, huh? Y'all haven't heard him along with me in a while. I am your host, Kai, if you don't know this already. And this is my co-host, Rick. Hello,
What's
Rick.
Up, y'all?
Wow. Our show discusses true crime cases told in the form of a story with mystery and suspense. Be sure to subscribe to Love and Murder on whatever platform you're on, as well as give us a 5-star review right now so you don't forget. If you're new here, then listen to the episode first, of course, and then please go and rate us. Go, rate us. Also, welcome. In today's episode, we're talking about a case of obsession and love. But first, I wanted to remind you to head on over to our exclusive group at patreon.com/love and murder. Our last bonus episode, we talked about unsolved mysteries. That case, we had like 3 or 4 cases in that one episode. There were some crazy things in there. Like, I literally researched while I was on air. That's how crazy these things were. And with one of the cases in there, we found out that it actually was solved. And I put the link to the episode. It was another podcast in which they showed that this case was solved. But that case was so creepy, crazy. Oh my God. Anyways. Y'all want to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/love and murder, so you can hear that. So I have a bunch of information in there, as well as there's some bloopers from that episode. So head on over to our Patreon, become a Patreon subscriber, $5 and above to get access to that. But enough about that. Let's get on to the show.
So Kai, what do you know about Grant Amato?
I know his name is Grant. And his name is Amato.
All right. Well, fun fact. Grant was born May 20th, 1989 in Shulaota, Florida.
Are you sure? Shulaota?
If I was sure, I would not pronounce it that way. No, I am not. I have never heard of this city ever.
As usual, let us know how it's pronounced in the comments below. We rely on you guys.
His father was Chad Amato. His mother was Margaret Amato. He had an older half-brother by the name of Jason, and he had another older brother, a full-blooded older brother by the name of Cody. When he was a child, or when he was a teenager, I should say, he attended Timber Creek High School, and after he graduated high school, he went to the University of Central Florida, and he got a nursing degree. You heard it correctly, folks. He got a nursing degree. Remember that for later.
Okay, because I was about to say what's wrong with that. But okay, go ahead.
Nothing. What will be wrong with it, Kai?
I don't know, Rick.
So Grant is generally believed to have had a pretty relatively normal upbringing. Chad was apparently a kind of a strict father, like a my house, my rules kind of guy. But the family got along overall pretty well, and they did a lot of activities together. Grant was a little awkward. He didn't really have any of his own friends. He would mostly hang out with Cody's friends. He didn't really have his own, but he and Cody would do stuff all the time. Like, they would take trips to Japan to visit, like, sightseeing and all that kind of stuff, take in the culture. Anytime Cody had friends over, Grant was usually hanging out with them. But again, didn't have any of his own friends. It said that Grant liked sports. He liked playing football. He actually liked going to shooting ranges, which I think will be fun someday, just for curiosity. And his entire family worked in the medical field. His parents had very well-paying jobs. Grant, you ready for this, Kai?
Mm-hmm.
Grant worked at a hospital until he was fired for stealing propofol. Do you know what propofol is?
I was about to ask.
Propofol is a sedative they use during surgery to knock you out.
So he was getting high off of it or selling it for other people to get high off of.
Yep. So he got in trouble for this. Wasn't a whole lot of detail on it that I could find, but supposedly the charges were later dropped. But he did get fired.
I wonder why the charges were dropped.
I don't know. If one of the lovely lambs has heard the story or knows more about the story, hopefully they'll let us know. So now that he's fired, he's at home. Grant eventually went on the site called My Free Cams, where you essentially talk to and chat with cam girls. Kai, do you know what a cam girl is?
I believe those are. Yeah, but I don't know how to explain it. Go ahead.
It's essentially like. It kind of depends on the site and the girls. Sometimes it's like softcore porn. Other times it's just like friendly flirting or whatever. It depends on the site where you go, the girl you're talking to. But Grant specifically met a cam model, which is usually a girl who kind of shows off her assets, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So Grant met Sylvie, a cam model from myfreecams.com. And this
that
is after he got
doesn't
fired.
tell y'all to go to that website, people.
Yeah, I mean, they can if they want to, but we're not making them do anything with it. I don't even know if I'm hesitant to see if the site is even still up, but I'm not going to do that on my work computer. By work computer, I mean the computer I use for the podcast. So Grant met Sylvie. She was a cam model for this website. He was living with his parents at the time. He spent most of his day speaking with Sylvie in her chat room. So he would go on the website, he'd find her little chat area, little chat server, and he would just start hitting her up and talking to her all day. And in these chats he'd have with her, he would lie about his lifestyle. He wouldn't say that he was living at home. He would say that, he lived on his own. He used to talk about all these quote-unquote nice cars that he had, tell her how wealthy he was. And, of course, at this point, we know in reality he was living at home, he was fired. And at this point in his life, he was stealing money from his parents and from his brother to feed this obsession with Sylvie. In case you're confused or wondering, you have to pay money for cam girls. Oh,
yes, of course.
That is like Rick's quote of the year right now. You have to pay money for cam girls, don't forget. Please no one take that out of context. This is going to come back to haunt me in 10 years, and they're like, oh, Rick's a terrible podcaster. He said that he knew that cam girls costed money. I'll be like, no, Kai, I have to quit the podcast. Anyway.
They'll be trolling you on Twitter and stuff.
Oh my God. My old tweets come back to haunt me.
I know, right?
All right, anyway. So yeah, he was stealing money from his parents and from his brother just to feed his obsession, talking to Sylvie all day. His family actually caught him stealing the money and talking to her December 23rd, 2018. And they were furious. Like, his dad essentially forbade him from talking to Sylvie or using the chat room or anything like that. Honestly,
he like a grown man by now?
I mean, maybe. But if your child stole money from you, and we'll get into how much money he stole later, if your child stole several $1,000s to feed an obsession, how would you feel? Does it matter how old your child is at that point? Wouldn't you be upset?
Well, my child is different. I can punish my child. A grown person who just happens to be my child, I'm not going to be like, I forbid you. Like, they're grown. You could just get up out my house. That's what you can do.
I agree. But at the same time, he's living with his parents, and his father is pretty strict to begin with. It's like, I guess they didn't want to give up on him. Like, we know you need the help. We know that you just lost your job. But then it's like they turn around and, oh, he's stolen I think it was like $20,000 from them at this point.
$20,000. Well, I was about to say, telling you to leave after we did give you a chance and tried to help you, that's not giving up on you. And then you turn around and steal $20,000. Yeah, I'm kind of doubling down on my stance. It's time for you to get up out of my house. You're a grown person. You're not a child anymore. I did help you out. I did give you a chance. I told you come back home. And instead of taking your time to go and look for jobs, you're stealing $20,000 from me.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the funny thing is, he's spending all this money using this chat room, and like for Sylvie, the cam girl, this is like a job for her. He is just a client to her. There's no like relationship here. There's no romance involved in any of this. Like a lot of the cases we handle, like the people get married or they have an actual relationship. That's not even the case here. Like this was just literally her job, quote unquote.
This is a different kind of relationship, people.
She treated him like another client. She wasn't a romantic partner or anything like that. So, fast forward to January 24th, 2019, the police get a call from one of Cody's coworkers. They wanted to do a wellness check on Cody because apparently he was at work and he had to leave due to like a family affair, and he never came back. He never came back. He never touched base. He never like checked in, anything like that. So the police go to Cody's house. When they arrive on the scene, they find the bodies of Chad, Cody's father, Margaret, Cody's mother, and Cody himself shot dead.
Wow.
Yes, you heard me. Shot dead. Margaret was found at her computer, slouched over, and she had been shot execution style. Chad was found in the kitchen, his back on the floor. There were 2 big pools of blood, indicating that he was attempting to crawl away. Cody's body was found at the opening of the garage door in the fetal position, all shot up. There were 4 bullet casings placed near Cody. The weapon used to shoot the family was never found and did not belong to any of the weapons at the crime scene. The house showed no signs of a break-in. Okay.
Hold on. You said the bullet cases were placed near him, or they fell near him?
They were placed near Cody.
Interesting.
Well, I think by placed, it's like when casing the scene and like detailing the scene, it's like it's not placed as in someone picked them up and put them there. It's placed as in like, oh, we found them there. It's kind of like saying, I can place you at the scene of the crime. It's placed like that.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Yeah. So they found these casings near Cody. They didn't match any of the weapons in the house, anything like that. The house showed no signs of a break-in. There was no signs of forced entry, no signs of breaking and entering, nothing like that. And, top of all that, nothing from the house was stolen either. So I have a quote here from the coworker.
It's getting curiouser and curiouser.
It is. I have a quote here from the coworker who called in for a wellness check on Cody. This quote comes from a Mr. Chris Sisko. He said, quote, "One of the reasons why I had called in the wellness check was because from what I can recall, there was never a time when Cody would show up late, when he would not show up, when he would not come on time, or not show up to a clinical area. I never heard of an instance where he just did not show up for any reason. Extremely dedicated, knowledgeable. He worked hard at being a CRNA that he was." End quote. And I think CRNA is just the position that he was in the hospital. Because remember, all of Grant's family were medical personnel.
Yeah, CRNA is a Certified Registered Nurse Assistant.
That's right. Okay. Thank you, Kai. My lovely co-host, everybody. Round of applause.
Thank you. Taking a bow.
So as they're looking for, people who could be tied to this crime or trying to find like members of the family, within the first 24 hours, they actually found out that Grant was at a nearby hotel. I'm sorry. He was in a nearby motel. He was brought in for questioning but he wasn't told what for. There was no DNA evidence to directly link him to the crime scene. He was found in a motel, and they were able to determine from video surveillance that Grant was one of the last people to see his family alive. And what I've read says that it was like neighborhood surveillance, like the neighborhood they lived in had cameras, and they could see Grant like coming and going to his family's place, I guess.
Well, what do we always tell anybody who's going to commit a crime?
Always have as much evidence on your person as possible against you.
Always be in a place where you know there are multiple cameras. Make sure you turn your face towards the camera. Make sure you have your cell phone on you and pinging.
Yeah. So, he gets taken in, and he was questioned by a deputy police officer named Danny Anderson and another female deputy officer. For the beginning of the questions, all they did was ask him about his hobbies, where he worked, if he had a girlfriend. They were just trying to get to know him, maybe kind of like put him in a more relaxed demeanor. But Grant avoided asking, why am I here? Why are you questioning me? He just kind of sat there and answered all their questions. Like, if I'm picked up by the police and they're asking me, like, how you doing, man? Where do you live? And who's your best friends? And what's your girlfriend's name? I'd be like, why the hell am I here? And why are you questioning me?
Exactly. I'm not answering these questions. I want to know why I'm here first and foremost.
Yeah. So eventually, they did break it to him that they had been in his family's home. And the female police investigator said, quote, "What do you think we found when law enforcement showed up to your house?" And then they finally broke it to him that we found your family dead. The whole time, Grant, claimed he was innocent this whole time. He told the truth about, his porn addiction and Sylvie and how he would steal money, all that kind of stuff. So he confessed to all of that. And this is where it came out that he had been caught talking to Sylvie after his family laid out those strict rules about not talking to her anymore. This is, oh shit. So I had that number wrong earlier. He stole $200,000 from his family. Oh my
God.
Yeah. So he was told by his family, don't talk to her, don't steal any money from us ever again, blah, 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 blah. That to me seems like more of a, this is the last straw, but I'm still giving you one more chance. And then he screwed it up anyway. So Chad, his father, caught him using his mom's phone talking to Sylvie and told him he was kicked out. Cody told his girlfriend that he was gonna go home after work to deal with the fallout of Grant getting kicked out. So that's probably how they pieced together that, the coworker called to say that Cody went missing, and then Cody's girlfriend knows the last place he went to. So in my head, I'm thinking that's probably how they pieced together to go to the house and look for Cody. And then they found, the family dead.
I'm still reeling on that 200,000 though.
200 guys. That's a 2 followed by 5 zeros. That's crazy.
That's insane.
I mean, all right. So
he admitted to all of that.
Yeah, he's admitting his addictions and stealing money. The whole time he's telling the story that he remains perfectly calm. Then he's also saying things like his father was abusive, his father abused his mom, and then he started talking about how he was afraid his father was going to kill him eventually, and the whole time that he's talking about all this stuff, he's super calm. He doesn't appear stressed. He's not freaking out. Say. Yeah. Not stressed, not freaking out. And, during the interrogation, the police, up to this point, they hadn't even told him yet what they found, and he's still being calm and doesn't know why he's there. If they weren't telling you why I was there, again, I'd be freaking out, adding to the fact that he was
But he does know that his family is dead.
He does know. Right? Yeah. But the police didn't tell him. And he's
just still, and he, okay. The police didn't mention it yet. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. You're jumping ahead. You and I know that he knows they're dead. But
No. I thought they told him, we found your family dead, and then he's just sitting there calm.
That's exactly what happened. They told him that his family was dead, and he had no reaction.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Okay, so they did tell him. So my thing is, so your family's dead. The police are bringing you in, and I mean, you're not even going to try and pretend to act like you're distraught. Like,
Yeah, they told him that his family was dead. He didn't cry. He didn't get upset. When they start to kind of like confront him, like, you were the last person to see them, you know, what happened, blah, 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 blah. His speech got more like broken up and repetitive. And you and I both know from past cases, like, that's a bad sign right there. If you're talking to police and you can't shut the hell up, you're guilty. Like, there's no way around it.
guilty.
Yep. And he was like, it's like he was stuck trying to figure out what to say. So he would like stutter. He would pause a lot. He would just keep talking and going on and on. It's kind of like when someone's explaining a story to you and they just keep focusing on certain details so that they can meanwhile process the rest of the story in their head. That's how you know stories are bullcrap, when people won't get to the point. Once the police left after the main portion of the interrogation, they could see him like softly crying to himself while holding his hands in his head. Like, they were interviewing him, and he was staying all calm and collected, and then they put the pressure on, and he got a little nervous, it seemed, and then as soon as they walked out the room, he started, like, crying to himself. What does that mean, Kai? I have no idea.
I mean, it could mean, okay, so it could mean that he's not guilty, and it's just hitting him that his family is dead. So he's mourning the loss of his family. It could mean that, he's stressed. It could mean that he's guilty as crap and he's crying because he got caught. It could mean a lot of things.
That's true. He got questioned at one point why he had a certain kind of glove on his person. And it was like remember earlier I mentioned that he liked to go to shooting ranges? He had a special type of glove for when you go to like shoot a gun. He had those on his person, and he claimed that he wore them all the time. Now, friends and family that knew him, they claim that he hardly ever wore those gloves, even when he was at the shooting range. So him having them on him today was, like, really weird.
Yeah.
So after about 2 hours of waiting in the interrogation room, Grant's older brother, his eldest brother, his half-brother, Jason, was brought in. When Jason came in, he gave Grant a hug. And then Jason also started asking him, what happened? When was the last time you saw everybody? If there could be like a loan shark looking out for him, because he knew that Grant had problems with money. He essentially did anything that he could do to get Grant to help his own case. And Grant just kept denying all the factual details, like the last time I saw them was, and then he wouldn't say the actual last time he saw them, all that kind of stuff. So it's like his oldest brother, the only family he has left, is starting to kind of see through his BS at this point.
That has to be heartbreaking.
Especially for Jason.
Yeah, you just realize that my brother might be the one who actually did this. That has to be heartbreaking.
And meanwhile, Grant is still claiming that he's innocent. And he starts to attempt to pin the deaths of the family on Cody. Like, he tries to make it seem like the crime was a murder-suicide. Like, Cody walked in there, murdered his parents, and then offed himself, That was Grant's stance on the whole thing. All right, so at this point, there's evidence to support that Grant was the one that killed his family. He was the last one to see them. He's not really telling the truth. He has no reaction to them being killed. It's like, for me, in past cases, we've seen it where, what am I trying to say here? Past cases, when someone's questioning you and you did it, and you did it, your mind is in more of a defensive position. So you'll answer questions and act normal. You won't have, like, knee-jerk reactions like, why am I here? Why are you asking me this? What happened to my family? I want to see my family. Call my lawyer, blah, 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 blah. He wasn't doing that. He was playing along with the questioning. that's always a sign of guilt right there.
Yeah, because if you didn't do it, and again, this is not 100% foolproof, but if you didn't do it, you're going to be angry that people are trying to paint it as if you did do it.
Right. Well, I'm glad you said that, Kai, because I have another quote here. It says, from Grant Amato himself, it says, "My family has been blaming me for months for ruining their lives, stealing, and not following the rules of the home. So I might as well be blamed for this too." End quote.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. During this time now, after they interrogated him, after they've, looked at him as the prime suspect, his lawyers try to use this idea that the family's deaths were a robbery gone wrong. Grant claimed that he had left to go to a job interview the day of the murder, and that everything at home was just fine when he left. He didn't really have much of a story as to what he thinks happened. He just kept denying being a part of the murders in any way. Now remember, though, when he was being interrogated, he tried to hint that Cody probably did a murder-suicide. Now he's like, oh, I don't know what could have happened. I mean, everything was fine that day when I left, and maybe someone robbed the place and murdered. But again, nothing was stolen from the house. So even still, he's changing his story, number one. Number two, even after changing his story, there's a lot of details that still aren't adding up. So from the crime scene, they collected some evidence. They got timestamps on Margaret's computer, Grant's mom, Margaret. They got timestamps on when she last accessed her computer. Chad wore a pedometer, and it stopped tracking his steps at a certain time. And when Cody came home, didn't match up with any of Grant's storylines. So those timestamps right there, his mom using her computer, his dad having a device that tracked his movement, and then the time that Cody arrived to the scene, none of that matches up with anything Grant's telling them about what happened that day. So that, coupled with the fact that he was the last person at the house, they also found that he had his passport, he had some money that was transferred from his dad's account to his own account hours after his dad died. So all of this put together, all that evidence, this is what pinned him down. This is how they got him. And on top of that, his father's finger was used to unlock his phone before that transfer happened. So essentially, whoever killed Chad, grabbed his hand, wiped the blood off of his thumb, and then used his fingerprint to unlock his phone.
Wow. That's cold-blooded.
Yep. And again, you couple that with video surveillance from the neighborhood, and it's not hard to place Grant at the house at this time. So they're like, oh, when did you leave? Oh, I left at, this time to go to a job interview. Okay, well, the neighborhood surveillance shows you leaving the house 10 minutes after your family died, So it's like, you see what we're saying here, Grant? Can you work with us here? What did you do? Huh? What happened?
I mean, when they brought that evidence to him, he still didn't have anything to say?
No. We move to July 15th, 2019. Grant is now on trial for the murder of his family. He was tried by Judge Jessica J. Recksadler, I think is how you pronounce that. It's Recksedler. I think it's Recksadler. Jessica Recksadler. Lambs, help me, please. I suck at names. I know, I'm sorry. We're all going to unsubscribe now because I can't pronounce names.
Everybody leaves.
Yeah. So during this trial, just like the interrogation, Grant was very stoic. He didn't show any emotion. He didn't get upset. He just kind of sat there and existed during the trial. And quick question, Kai. Is there always 12 jurors in a court case?
I don't know if there's always 12. I think it just depends on... You know what? Let's look it up. The 12-person jury, which the American Bar Association supports, is used by 33 states for civil jury trial, 34 for misdemeanor trials, and 45 for non-capital felony trials. Other states use 6, 7, or 8-member juries for those trials. And that comes from ncsc.org. Jury size doesn't matter.
All that matters how you use it.
Wow.
You asked.
That was the name of the article.
Oh.
You stupid.
All right. I'm not stupid. I just didn't know. It didn't help Grant either that, like, the signs of the family tension between him and the rest of the family, it was pretty easy to see. Like, when we say Grant stole money from his family, he wasn't just stealing money from his mom and dad and brother. There was a point in time where, you know, he and his dad got into an argument, so he left for a little while to live with his aunt, and then he was stealing money from his aunt for this obsession that he had. And
wow.
He, get this, Kai, there were days where he was spending $20,000 in one night at a time on cam models.
My God. What?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't on the same girl. It was on different ones, yeah?
It was the same girl. It was Sylvie. It was all for Sylvie.
Wow.
Yep. Sylvie was definitely his
bank.
obsession. I doubt she feels great about it, though. Yeah, and, you know, on top of them knowing him stealing the money from them, they sent him to a rehab for porn addiction for a little while. And that costed the family a lot of money, too. So, not only did he steal money from them, they were spending money on him to get quote-unquote, get better and try to, you know, alleviate him of this addiction that he had. But at this point, like, I don't think conventional methods will work here, you know. If he's going to these extremes, and I know addicts go to extremes a lot, but when you steal that much money from under your family's nose, and it's that blatantly obvious that you're doing it, and you've gotten caught several times, like, at what point does it go from, you know, reckless abandon to an addiction to, like, a disorder? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think at this point, he has passed, well, no, he's within the addiction and reckless, would you call it reckless disorder or reckless abandonment?
Reckless abandon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so during the trial, all this evidence points to him, his family history, all that points to him doing this. There's, like, no way he could not have done this. So, Kai, what do you think he pleaded?
Not guilty.
You are correct. However, despite pleading not guilty, the jury found him guilty unanimously. The only thing the jury couldn't agree on was giving him the death penalty. And in the state of Florida, in order to have a death penalty sentence, the jury has to be unanimous. So, other than that, the jury 100% found him guilty.
Wow. I mean, based on the evidence and everything, I could understand why.
Yeah, it's no contest. Like, he did it. It's obvious. There's footage. There's evidence. Like, the thing that really gets me is, like, they went as far as the dude's pedometer. Like, the thing that was tracking, they're like, when did this guy stop moving? Okay, that means he's dead. Like, they got so in-depth with the evidence here. I don't want to say I quote-unquote like that, but that's what intrigues me about cases like this, where the most minute thing can be what gives it all away.
That, I mean, they really went in depth in their investigation and bring in all the pieces of the puzzle to the table. That's why there wasn't a juror that was like, oh, maybe he didn't do it.
Maybe, but I mean, in a case like this, it's so blatantly obvious. Like, and to be fair, you and I weren't there as part of this jury, but from an outsider looking in, it seems like if you didn't find this guy guilty, you were listening to the wrong case. Like, you know.
So, Rick, I was going to ask you, at any point, did he show any kind of remorse?
No. During the whole entire trial, he was just stoic. Cold stone, stoic.
You know how before they do sentence you, they give you an opportunity to say something. Was there anything in the research about that?
No, he had nothing to say. He may have reiterated his statement about, you know, my family blamed me for their problems. That he might have reiterated that quote. I didn't see anything that cemented that fact or anything.
The thing that I find funny is like he's saying my family blamed me for for their problems, but then it's like, are you trying to say that they blamed you even from their casket? Like,
Well, he
who
was
are
he was
they?
saying, um, he was being blamed for their murder, and he was just saying like, oh, before this they were blaming me about all their problems. This might as well be my fault too, the kind of thing. But here's the thing that bothers me. Here's the reason why I think that statement is asinine. He says they're blaming me for all their problems when he was in fact the cause of all their problems. He was the one stealing money. He was the one causing tension in the household. And then he's acting like they're just blaming him. I mean, they're blaming him for good reason. Like, he was a problem.
$200,000.
Yes. That is redonkulous. If I had $200,000, Kai, let me tell you, Kai, if I had $200,000, we would be lit. We would have a mansion dedicated to love and murder. We'd have a whole crew. We'd have a marketing team. We'd have a research team. We'd have a writing team. We'd have a hosting team.
I was gonna say I would still be doing love and murder. We would just have a whole different show.
We'd have production quality.
Dude, we would just show up and record, and then we'd just pay everybody to do everything else.
Exactly. All right, so in case you're wondering what friends and neighbors had to say about the whole situation, Chris Cisco, the coworker with Cody, he and Cody were working at like a trauma center in Florida at the time of what happened. He worked with Cody, and he was in a training class with Cody at work. And he actually testified as a witness. So he wasn't just like interviewed. He actually testified in court as a witness. Saying that, he and Cody were friends. They studied together. They knew each other pretty well. He kind of clarified that he knew Grant through Cody, but he wasn't really close to Grant. Like earlier we said, Grant was mainly friends with like Cody's friends. He wasn't friends with Chris. Chris was just like an acquaintance to Grant. And to kind of like reiterate on the quote that Chris made earlier, he testified in court, like, for Cody to leave work and not show up the next day, for him to not check in, for him to be late or, be late and not call anybody, it was very out of character for Cody to, not let people know where he was or what he was doing, not keeping people informed. So it was very out of character for Cody not to be on time, not to show up. He was according to Chris, he was very dedicated to his work. He showed up early a lot. He'd be like at least half an hour early to where he was supposed to be. And it was basically because of Cody's great character that Chris knew something was wrong, and that's why he made, the wellness check call. So that's how Chris fits into all this in general, just to add some more awesome details for the story. So the older brother, Jason, during the whole like trial and interrogation, during the whole trial and stuff like that, he was questioned about the layout of his house, and he would talk about how, in regards to Grant saying that his father was abusive, Jason confirmed that they got spanked every so often, but they were never abused like that. So he confirmed that the whole, my father was abusive and I thought he was going to kill me. Yeah, Jason confirmed all of that was BS.
Okay, so his father was just strict, not abusive.
Yes. Yep. He also kind of said that while Grant was getting treated for his addiction, he said that when he spoke to his mother seemed happier now that Grant was quote unquote getting the help that he needed, He spoke to his mom about 3 times while Grant was away getting treatment, and he stated that his mother sounded a lot happier, and his mother told him that Grant had an interview. So I'm thinking Grant never really had an interview. I think he told his parents he had an interview, and then his parents, thinking that was the truth, told Jason, oh, hey, your little brother's getting an interview soon, he'll be back on his feet or whatever. And then, obviously that's a lie, because when he was supposed to be at the interview, he was murdering his family. Jason said that Grant's behavior during the interrogation, like him being real stoic and not showing any emotion or anything like that, not having any reactions, Jason said that behavior was very typical of Grant. And he clarified by saying that Grant never spoke a whole lot, even on like a regular day. This guy goes throughout his day not really having any kind of reaction, no stimulus, nothing like that. He gets told that his family is dead. He doesn't react to it. So it's weird. Like, I'm thinking he didn't react to the news of his family being dead because he already knew they were dead, and he killed them. Therefore, it was like, okay, I did that. I know they're dead. But, if he didn't talk a whole lot or have a whole lot of like external reactions on a normal day, I can kind of see where maybe you'd be a little confused. Like, okay, he's not really showing any responses to the terrible news, but he's like that with everything. I can kind of see how that would throw some people off, like you were saying earlier. Like you were saying, maybe he's letting it soak in that his family is dead, blah, blah, blah. I could see maybe if that's how he is as a person. I don't know.
I'm wondering if he has some kind of disorder.
That might very well be the case.
Which doesn't excuse the murder. I'm just wondering if he has a disorder.
Well, there's a big difference between an excuse and an explanation. Whenever someone comes to me with something like, oh, so-and-so, blah, 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 and I'm like, yeah, but so-and-so, was raised by wolves, Oh, don't make excuse. I'm not making an excuse for them. That's why they act that way, vice versa. So, I see what you're saying. Like, if he had a disorder or has a disorder, that doesn't make it okay for him to be a murderer. I know what you mean, but
yeah,
it would go a long way to explain his very stoic personality, how he gets obsessive, how he's willing to do things that, he could easily get caught for. Like, the family could see, like, you're on the freaking computer talking to this girl. We see it. We know you're doing it. Obviously, they can find out he's doing it, but he kept doing it anyway, That's that, like, reckless abandon or that lack of care that kind of got him in trouble in the first place. But to conclude the trial, so after the jury finds him guilty, he gets sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. And like I said before, the jury debated whether or not they were going to give him a death sentence. They could not do so because it was state law that the vote to decide on the death sentence, that vote had to be unanimous amongst the jurors, and it was not. So they found him guilty. They couldn't give him the death penalty, and he was given life in prison without parole. As of today, sorry.
I was going to say, I guess at least he's never getting out, so.
Yeah, as of right now, he is still in jail, and he has, like you said, there's no possibility of him ever getting out.
Yeah, I was going to say, although that is a drain on taxpayers' money, but, he's never getting out.
Well, that's a whole conversation we could get into another day, but, whether Grant Amato himself is in jail, there's a lot of people in jail, Kai, so taxpayer money goes into jail no matter who's there. All right, gang. Well, that was the case of Grant Amato. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad to be back with Kai doing our thing, giving you guys the 1-2 combo of co-hosts. So, again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Kai, any final thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. If you like this episode, then don't forget to visit us on patreon.com to become an exclusive member of our Lamb community. You get commercial-free episodes, full-length early release episodes of Love and Murder, as well as extras that we have of the case. So whatever extras of the case that we have, pictures of the crime scene, pictures of the victim. Well, not really the victims. We do pictures of the murderers and stuff like that. If there is any evidence pictures, whatever extras we have of the episode, we put that there in our Patreon. You also get bonus content like cases about love obsessions, cases about crazy crimes, serial killer corner, host stories, just a lot of stuff over there. You get bloopers, you get to hear the behind the scenes of me, myself, or me and Rick, or whatever, just behind the scenes. We have so much fun over there, and you get more content over there. So you can go on over to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/love and murder, and get started for only, there's an option for $1 a month. But the best tier that you can get is $5 a month and up. And an easy and free way to help us out is by simply sharing this episode. Share online with your chat friends. Yeah, share with your mom, brother, father, sister, and go online and, don't spend $200,000 to do it, but share online with your chat friends.
No, you know what? You know what, Kai? If they wanted to go in the chat room and spend $200,000 just to advertise us, I'm fine with that.
Dude, just give us the $200,000. You could literally go to our website, murderandlove.com, and there's an option to donate. Just donate it to us. And as always, we end each episode by reminding you,
cam girls cost money.
That, and it's all love and no murder, y'all. Good night.